Okay, whenever, let me know, Kyle.
I think we're ready to go.
All right. Oh, I need my glasses. Call to order the regular virtual meeting of the Rio Dell City Council. Roll call, please.
Mayor Garnes,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Here.
Councilmember Carter,
Here.
Councilmember Wilson,
Here.
Councilmember Woodall,
Here.
City Manager Knopp,
Here.
Chief of Police Connor,
Here.
Finance Director Dillingham,
Here.
Community Development Director Caldwell, Water Superintendent Jensen,
Here.
Wastewater Superintendent Taylor,
Here.
and City Clerk Dunham is present. Thank you.
Thank you. I will announce, because that will be the next thing on the agenda, that we actually did not have a closed session, so there's nothing to report out because there was no closed session. And now I'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public presentations. This is the time for persons who wish to address the council on any matter not on this agenda and over which the council has jurisdiction. As such, a dialogue with the council or staff is not allowed under the Ralph M. Johnson Brown Act. Items requiring council actions not listed on this agenda may be placed on the next regular agenda for consideration if the council directs, unless a finding is made by at least 2/3 of the council that the item came up after the agenda was posted and is of an urgency nature requiring immediate action. Please limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Are there any hands raised or emails?
Currently, there are no hands raised.
And we do have 2 public comments received via email.
Would you please read them?
Sure.
Thank
The
you.
first one starts off by saying, I'm writing this in regard to the draconian measures to require everybody to have trash service. I'm highly opposed to this. I currently have trash service, but when I'm not producing enough, I cancel my service. In my neighborhood, out of 14 houses that I can count standing right here, there are 3 residences that have trash service. There isn't trash spewing into the street. There are ex-city council members and others who attend your meetings on a regular basis who do not have trash service. Everything is fine in our neighborhood. To think that the Nuisance Advisory Committee recommended this. I saw those people walking through my neighborhood looking for things wrong, and you know who you are. You never stopped and said hi to create a dialogue, which I believe is really the perfect time to talk to citizens, because when speaking in front of the council, it's more like we're talking to you and not really having a dialogue. Walking around trying to find things wrong is pretty ridiculous. I also picked up trash on the river bar. Requiring service is not going to solve that issue in any way, as a lot of those people doing that are mostly homeless. For those who dumped appliances and everything else, this will not change. They'll just go to further links and further places where we cannot easily clean it up. Lastly, you want to talk about a nuisance. Having every single house with a trash recycling green waste bin in front of their house is a nuisance in itself. Hauling all those cans out to the street once a week, and then the noise pollution coming from the trucks, stopping at every house as many as 3 times per residence is ridiculous. There are extremely narrow streets in part of town where the vehicles barely fit now. Every house is going to have multiple cans now. The damage to the roads from these heavy trucks coming in more than they ever have on roads that seem to really never get repaired is going to make it extremely worse. What are we going to do to the roads at that point? I know that there are things being placed in the dumpsters behind City Hall, but be glad those people put that stuff there instead of citizens having to pick it up off the river bar. To punish all for the acts of a few is pretty out there, considering when I first moved here, I thought this was a Republican town, which doesn't really believe in collective punishment, less taxes and regulation. Attached is a picture of trash that I just took this Monday that was removed from the Scotia side. Requiring everybody to have trash service does not fix this. I also find it ridiculous that it's left upon the citizens to pay for the removal fees. With all of the tax money that's received by the city government, let's try to solve real issues, not thinking we're mitigating one issue to really create a bunch of noise and clutter. And it's signed Strange Heroes. So the next one, it starts off by saying, good evening to the city of Rio Dell. We are an up and coming cannabis business serving our community through the cultivation of hemp. We're genuine people who run a business that affects the lives of many, not simply our clients, but our employees too. Us and our affiliate entrepreneurs grant a higher quality of life for our customers through hemp flower. To shut us down would be detrimental to our community and negatively impact all of our customers, affiliate marketers, and employees. Growing female plants in a controlled surrounding creates a non-issue with no contamination. The methods we use when developing our boutique-style cannabis from clones in a managed environment creates very little risk. Our secure cultivation practices have been researched by medical doctors and universities throughout the world. The hemp industry is booming, and we aspire to be part of this remarkable green future. Best regards, your local hemp farmer and business owner, Veronica Rain Cortazar. And attached to that comment was a 5-page document on the history of hemp. And that's all we received.
Thank you. And maybe you can put the 5 pages in our mailboxes.
I will, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we will move on to the consent calendar. Are there any items that a council member would like to remove from the consent calendar?
I would like to remove item 1, the minutes.
Okay. Any other? No. Okay, then is there a motion to approve items 2 and 3?
So moved by Johnson.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, either
Okay.
one.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Carter,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Woodall,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Garnes.
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Councilmember Wilson, item 1.
Just briefly on the way that it depicts how we did the closed session. We started out we didn't start out in a public meeting. We started out in a fully closed session meeting. And I understand the complexities of doing this under a virtual meeting. We've done it through RCA and HWMA. It's again, it is complicated. But partly for pulling this is to make comment, just for the record, that the cities and the county go to a lot of extra effort to adhere to the Brown Act, where the state and federal government don't. And the state in particular is the one that puts this demand on us, doesn't adhere to the Brown Act itself. And so it's kind of an unbalanced burden placed on cities. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion about that? Did anyone want to make comment? Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I'm not quite sure what he said. Oh, it's on the minutes, and it was about the closed session. I'm not quite sure what he.
Where it says recessed into closed session?
Okay, minutes.
Um,
Present. Oh, that we didn't open in public and then recess into closed session?
I believe that was my understanding.
That is
Okay.
correct. It's kind of a mute.
Okay.
Nobody's ever, that I know of in 10 years, ever had a comment before a closed session meeting that I can ever recall. It just doesn't happen.
No, but
everybody there when you convene back into public session.
Right.
It's complicated, and it's like I say, it's an unfair burden. I understand why it's there, but in that the state doesn't adhere to it as well.
We used to do it a long time ago. So yeah, I understand now. Thank you.
Right. We do it when we meet public. We do it.
I didn't ask if there were any hands raised. Thank you both. I didn't ask if there were any hands raised or if any member of the staff or public would like to pull any item. Was there any?
There is a hand raised. The last numbers on the phone number are 4783.
Okay, then can that person speak?
They just need to unmute.
Okay. 54783, welcome.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I didn't quite get in time, I don't think, for just public comment for items not on the agenda. Is there 2 minutes for me to speak?
Sure. I mean, if
Okay.
that's, wait, hang on just a sec. Is that okay?
Sure.
The city clerk, city manager? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Christopher Bloom. As some of you may or may not know, I'm with Element 7. And we are just kind of working on the final completion of the shop just down the street from City Hall. We're planning a kind of a soft opening on Friday with a grand opening next week. We appreciate all the support that the city has given us throughout this process. And we look forward to being a valued member of the community, and we look forward to seeing some of you guys in. As soon as you can make it, we'd love to have you in as our guest and take a tour and see everything now that it's so close to completion here. That's all.
Well, that was very much appreciated. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for coming and letting us know what's happening in your world and soon to be our world. So,
All right.
all right, take care. Well, hopefully,
Thank you for your time.
absolutely.
All right. Sounds good. Bye-bye.
So now I will have to ask, I just stepped back for raised hands because I hadn't asked about the consent calendar. So Councilmember Wilson, do you want to make a motion on item number 1?
Make a motion that we approve item 1.
Is there a second?
Second by Johnson.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Carter,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Woodall,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Garnes.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. We'll move on to reports of staff communications, page 26 in your packet. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. I do want to just provide a quick update on our vaccine clinic. Folks should be receiving a mailer in their mailbox with information about Thursday's clinic. So it'll be located at the fire hall, starting at 10 a.m. To 3 p.m. There will be a noon break for public health staff. So just to provide a clarification, some of the material states that the clinic starts at 9 a.m., but it does in fact start at 10 a.m. And further clarification is that it will be a Johnson & Johnson vaccine. We have not received word back whether they will be providing any of the other vaccines, the Moderna or the Pfizer. But there will be Johnson & Johnson at the vaccine clinic. If you're in need of a ride to the clinic, call City Hall at 764-3532, and we will schedule a van pickup to get you to the facility. We're trying to prioritize the elderly and to get them to the clinic. So with that, I'll go ahead and return it back to the council, and also just send out a thanks to the mayor and also public health staff and county mobile outreach for helping to set up the vaccine clinic.
Thank you. And I wanted to thank you and also the entities that you stated as well. And before I go on to the council, I also want to as I was just telling you guys, I just came back from a camping situation that I'm actually still in, but I came back because I'm responsible. But because I was out of a cell range, Jolan Wilson helped me make phone calls, and I just wanted to say thank you to her. Thank you, because she did it on her own time, on off time, and she did it to help me, and I appreciate it, and I just wanted to put that out there. So now I will reach out to council. Is there council members, Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, is there any question that you have on staff reports?
No questions, Mayor Garnes.
Okay. Council Member Carter?
No questions from me either. Thank you.
Council Member Wilson?
Just a question to the police chief.
Go ahead.
Chief Connor, I've seen some stuff on social media about a van that's labeled some kind of a church van perusing the city, trying to just different things that would cost local residents. Could you give us an update on that?
So I first learned about this on Sunday when a sheriff's deputy called me. He was in contact with a van in the Garberville area. I knew nothing about it at that time. The woman who was involved in this called me on Monday and reported what had happened. And the van was contacted 3 times in the Garberville Redway area, had the same 2 occupants each time. I received a call from a judge that it was in McKinleyville, and then I believe Facebook suggested that it was in the Willow Creek area. It has not been seen in Rio Dell since 5 o'clock on Saturday when this incident happened. So far, no substantiated crimes have been committed in either the city or the county's jurisdiction, and there are no warrants or anything like that pending.
All right, thank you, Chief. That's the only questions I had.
Thank you. Councilmember Woodall?
Of course. Number 1, for the vaccine clinic, Kyle, you said that they could possibly, you hadn't heard, do the Moderna and the other one. If they do the Moderna and God, I can't think of the second one.
Pfizer.
Yes. Then we would have to have a second clinic, right? 2 weeks later. With the Johnson & Johnson, we only have to have 1 clinic. But if we give out a Moderna or the other, we would fight. God, then we would have to have.
The Moderna is 3 weeks and the Pfizer the Moderna is 4 weeks and the Pfizer is 3 weeks.
But then we would have to have another clinic to make sure that people were able to get those second shots.
So that would be addressed by public health. I would just like to maybe restate, I have not received any confirmation that Pfizer or Moderna will be available. I have received confirmation that Johnson & Johnson will be available. So I at this point, I have asked for clarification and I have not received further clarification. So I do believe at this point, it's more likely than not that it will just be Johnson & Johnson.
Okay. That's all and then I was wondering I was reading on the Redwood tank, the water storage cleaning and inspection note that they were unable to repair the leak along the bottom perimeter of the tank. So what does that mean? Does that mean if they're unable that we have to replace the tank? Or what? How will we go on with this, with the leak?
Mayor and Council, this is Randy.
Yes.
So with that on the Redwood tank, basically the Redwood tank has been out of service for a number of years now. We strictly use it for backwashing the infiltration gallery in the river. With this, we've been topping it off due to the leak and just keeping it full of water to keep the wood swollen so it doesn't leak even more on the upper part of the tank. We can continue this method for a few more, another year if we want to, whatnot. Currently, there's a plan to replace that tank with GHG and looking for funding to do that. And from that point,
we're still waiting for that to develop and become more of an option. Worst case is I would shut the tank down and then basically it'd just be a dry tank. But like I said before, it's been offline for a number of years and it's only used for doing the backwash for the gallery.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to thank the Public Works and everything. They're doing a great job on the medians uptown. They look great. They haven't looked that good for a long time. And I know it's been a lot of work and I wanted to let them know we really appreciated it. And then for Chief, I talked to you today, Chief, about the number of calls at 355 Center Street. And, you know, we look at them and it looks like a lot of calls, but I was wondering if in comparison to the low-income apartments next door, one time I was mentioning this to one of the officers, and he said that they also received a lot of calls for those. So I'm wondering, is there a comparison? I mean, do we have more calls for the 355 Center? Is there a relationship or a ratio between those?
So after we spoke this afternoon, I was able to do a little bit of research, and in the last 4 weeks, the last two reporting periods for the calls on Center, in that time period, there were 4 calls at the Rigby Apartments, the low income housing, averaging about 1 a week. And that's a pretty significant reduction from the calls we have at Center Street. Also considering that there's twice as many units in that facility and significantly more people living there. However, that's only a 4-week period, and I will try and create some more numbers. It's a little harder to search that facility because it has multiple addresses. Each building has a separate address, but I will try and come up with some numbers over a longer period of time and compare it to the facility on Center. It's the same types of calls. I think the number is higher on Center Street, but I can say over the last 4 weeks, it's probably about 3 or 4 times higher, but I don't know that continues over an extended period of time. And I'll try and find that out.
Okay, thank you for checking. I appreciate it. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Woodall. Are there any hands raised or emails?
Currently, there are still no hands raised.
And there are no emails received.
Mayor
Thank
Garner,
Yes.
a follow up on Councilmember Woodall's question on the tank. It seemed like, I think it was last meeting, we had a note in our box from a local residence that commented on water leaking from the tank, damaged his road. Is there, can I ask Superintendent Jensen, is that any merit or is there damage being done by the tank leaking? Is what I want to know.
Council members, with that, basically there was excess runoff from the tank from filling it up as it does leak to the very top. It did not really pretty much damage the road. It did move some asphalt grindings. We've gone up there and dealt with that. It was just basically a small little trench area that wasn't nothing drastic. I think it was more just an addition to part of his complaint due to a water bill.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Is there any other questions for staff? Okay, hearing none. We will move on then to special presentations. Presentation and possible action to adopt economic development goals and actions to achieve economic development in Rio Dell, including the immediate action plan. Page 33 of your packet. City Manager, please.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. I'm going to see if I can screen share here. All right, so that should be showing up. This is an exciting moment, really. The Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee has been working for some time on a draft goals and actions plan, working on economic development, essentially kind of the next phase in where we're headed towards an expanded economic development program. The committee, which consisted of Mayor Garnes and Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, met with Gerbak Sahota of Cal ED, and also with the county economic development team to discuss the program. So some of the advice we were given initially was to essentially create goals and then reverse engineer those goals. In the idea being that that we set the goalposts and we figure out an action plan to achieve those objectives. So at the onset of at the top of the document that is on your screen today, the ad hoc committee discussed and is recommending that the council adopt the following overarching goals for economic development. So those include maximizing the economic potential of Rio Dell, a bedroom community, creating a more visually attractive community, increasing city revenues to maintain and enhance public services. So that could be police, streets, water, wastewater infrastructure. Another goal was to create a reason for outsiders to visit, to add to the economy here. Being adjacent to US 101, there's a number of travelers and vacationers who visit this area. And it's a resource that Rio Dell has excellent access to with great on-ramps and off-ramps, great freeway access into the community. The other goal was to create a team with resources empowered to accomplish the goals of the Economic Development Action Plan. Looking back at the 2008 plan, one of the difficulties there was in resources to accomplish some of the prior plans. So we're talking about really consistent effort over a long period of time. That was another piece of advice that the committee received, which is that economic development is a process, and there's no one study or published document that somehow magically pushes all the items through, but it's about consistent long-term effort in this area. And so the guests that we had encouraged us to, or challenged us to create a mission statement related to economic development. And so the mission statement following the discussion really came down to a success statement where we stated, we will be successful when business space vacancy rates decline, more outsiders visit, and city revenues increase. We will become the town that businesses and individuals want to invest in. And so, you know, those are the mission statement that can summarize really the overall effort of what we are trying to do. So with that, there are several goals that have been outlined, and then there are directives following those goals in order to achieve them. So that includes reducing the downtown vacancy rate. So on page 34, and I won't go through every single one, but this is just an example of how to specifically address vacancy rates in the community. And one of those would be to implement a city-funded facade improvement program with grants and loans for facade renovation as a way to visually enhance the downtown and spur additional investment. We know that there are multiple cities all across the state and all across the nation who engage in this type of activity. So this would be building something from the ground up, but there are many other ideas. That includes a phantom gallery concept for artists to rent unused and available commercial space, There's the evaluation of walkability, beautification options to create essentially a more inviting environment for pedestrians and increase the visual appeal of the community. Continued plans or proposals including evaluating off-street parking, considering the purchase of 255 Wildwood Avenue, and remediation of the pollution at that site to either create additional commercial space in the downtown or potentially a community center. Eagle Prairie Bridge is another important aspect and feature of Rio Dell's economic life. And that needs to be focused on in terms of just capitalizing on the visual of the bridge and also the long-term sustainability of the bridge. And developing potentially mural programs to enhance the visual experience of the community. And we know that the Chamber of Commerce has been very interested in exploring the mural concept. So in terms of increasing the number of out-of-town visitors, developing event space that allows for celebrations or festivals that can attract regional patronage. So this also, potentially plays into local festivals such as Wildwood Days and car shows and whatnot, of having a more dedicated, safe space for these type of events could be translated into things like a farmer's market or other festivals and events that interested citizens would want to hold. In addition, there's a need for additional highway billboard signage to encourage visitors to identify Rio Dell and highlight strengths and reasons for people to pull off the freeway. This includes, potentially considering partnerships to advertise and raise local awareness of services. Could be as simple as gas station, lunch opportunities, dispensaries, whatever's available to the community. Make sure that people passing through, which is a large number of visitors, know what is available, what services are available in town. And to also focus on the cleanliness of Wildwood and Davis, again, establishing potentially a farmer's market in the community, and then also looking into creating a draw for reasons for people to come and visit the community. So some communities have the world's largest frying pan or the world's largest hammer, those sorts of ideas. In terms of increasing the quality of life, we know that this is a growing and important area in terms of economic development, is enhancing the assets in the community to attract and retain residents and help to create that environment. So that includes quality municipal services, streets, for example. The council's made a 5-year commitment for investing $450,000 annually into street enhancement projects throughout the community. And there is a lot of effort going into that to make sure that that we're getting a lot of that infrastructure work done, not just what's under the street, but the street itself, to improve many of the bad streets throughout town. Increasing the quality of life also involves the surveying residents to find out what specific types of surveys or services that they would like to see in the community, and certainly reaching out to younger residents of the community who are certainly big stakeholders in the future of this community and Humboldt County in general. Developing a plan for the city to have expanded service roles in parks, recreation, other quality of life enhancement projects. We know that the city does not own much land in the city and typically does not here in this community provide a wide array of recreational assets or services. There are other ideas, including working with the school district to achieve distinguished school recognition to assist in that. One of the other items that was highlighted was the need to provide quality data to decision makers, staff, investors, and the community. So you can't manage what you can't measure. And so what we want to do is implement economic development metrics. That was another item that was high on the list of the ad hoc committee and the recommendations that we received. So there are multiple ways of implementing metrics, and we'll discuss a little bit of some of those later down the list. But for example, one of the recommendations is to pursue a relationship with a consulting firm, starting out looking at a leakage study for the community, economic leakage of dollars leaving the community, what business opportunities are potentially present for the community. That can be used by the council to make appropriate decisions. They can also be used by investors and members of the community in approaching the targets of opportunity that are available in Rio Dell. In addition, we know that the SWOT analyses are also something that we need to be doing community-wide. And then there was another important point that was made at the Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee, which was to capitalize on the strengths and opportunities that the city currently has. So that includes investment related to the legal cannabis industry. We know that they are a major investor in Rio Dell at this point in time, and that there may be some grant funding through the county's Project Trellis that may be able to help further spur economic growth in this area. Investment in the Humboldt Rio Dell Business Park infrastructure, including streets and highway interfaces, and the Dinsmore zone, to make sure that we're capitalizing again on those investments. So branding and identity, this is one that we have discussed multiple times. And one of the ideas that came out of the ad hoc committee was developing the idea of the selfie station, particularly for younger Gen X and Gen Y groups. When they go and travel somewhere, they have to get the selfie posted on Instagram. And so typically those occur at sites of icons or iconography that take on an added importance in economic development. And a way of kind of identifying that you've been to a certain location, traveled through. And so, for example, the Golden Gate Bridge, Carson Mansion are some of those examples elsewhere in the state or here in Humboldt County. And Rio Dell actually has a number of really interesting visuals, including the bluffs, the Eagle Prairie Bridge. And capitalizing on these icons is really going to be important moving forward for the community. Other ideas include development of an economic development specific webpage where it's sort of a one-stop shop to go and find out what ideas are occurring, what investment opportunities occur, and then also provide a level of transparency to the public about what the economic development efforts are in Rio Dell. So another important aspect to this, again, going back to the 2008 study, was really capacity enhancement and developing this plan to kind of as a starting point to spur additional conversation about resources and making sure that we have a consistent effort well into the future towards these goals. So that could include additionally sending delegations to economic development conferences, creating annual grant availability inventories, and the formation of some sort of economic development committee, creating a diverse array of stakeholders in this effort. So again, the metrics were something that were mentioned multiple times at the ad hoc committee level. So how do you measure things like reducing downtown vacancy rates, which is really just kind of measuring and having a standard metric for measuring and cataloging vacancies along Wildwood Avenue and across all of the commercial parcels within the city of Rio Dell, and then tracking that consistently over time. And we may be able to even go back a little bit in time to do that with the business licenses. But there's other methods, including in terms of measuring outside visitation to the city. We could be looking at measuring traffic activity through existing Caltrans data, or what the county uses is apparently some cell phone data that measures cell phone traffic in locations that can help provide a metric as to whether certain events or over time, whether the effort is successful in terms of creating additional outside visitation. Measuring city revenues, that one is a little bit more straightforward, and we're going to be entering the budget process here very shortly with the council to discuss that. One of the other things we want to highlight are just some of the recent successes related to economic development. That includes the street and sidewalk work, which we're hoping to complete additional work during the summer construction season. We have increased staffing in the police department for this community. So on average, we had probably about 3 officers at any given time. About 3.5 years ago or so. Today we're at 6.25 and fully staffed. And that includes also an additional community services officer and then clerical support in the police department. We have had pretty significant investments, some of the largest investments, if not the largest investments in Rio Dell's history related to cannabis, which of course then also through Measure X has increased cannabis tax revenue that the council's prioritized towards streets. The city's also been successful, and I'm hoping that we're going to have some additional announcements over the next few months related to infrastructure grants. That includes a significant investment from the state in water systems. So as we head towards a new potential drought and new state orders related to that drought, the city does have a backup emergency water supply system that it did not have 6 or so years ago. In addition, we're working on improvements to the collection system for the wastewater system to leverage grant dollars to help accomplish some important goals related to the efficiency of the plant. So in addition, the city has increased and been able to spend additional funding on code enforcement and improving the image of the community and investing in the aesthetics of the community, and we hope to do certainly more of that. So with that, that's a lot to bite off, and so what the committee's also recommending is that the council prioritize specific areas over the next year as we discuss resources in this budget, what the long-term plan is in order to create a focus on economic development. And so this initial plan is subdivided into the immediate action plan. So that immediate action plan includes 6 elements. One would be to pursue third-party leakage study and develop that relationship with a consulting firm who can help provide this council, members of the community, and investors with data and produce that information for the benefit of the community, so that we have facts to base decisions off of, to identify targets and move towards those. The other is to develop the facade improvement plan and implement that facade improvement program. The open space facility concept and other facilities such as dog parks or other types of public asset facilities There are some grant opportunities available to the city to pursue new and specific recreational assets. And some of that could be related to the COVID dollars that are pulling down. So there does look like there is some funding related to open space event facilities that the city could certainly play a role in. Other options include pursuing the Todd property. There may be some developments related to that. And this particular parcel, which is one of the last freeway fronting parcels that is undeveloped, would certainly be a game changer. And the council has directed staff to pursue some state grants that would include research into mixed housing facilities with commercial development that potentially could be a tremendous benefit to the community. Number 5 would be a beautification and walkability committee to form a group of community members, council members to develop a plan with specific projects towards beautification or walkability. Could be replacement of certain sidewalks or additional features that could be implemented. Some of the recommendations have been flower plantings, wildflower plantings, and there's kind of all different ideas, big and small, related to that. That could be quite beneficial to the community. And then number 6 was, again, playing to the strengths of some of the recent efforts towards economic development, which includes investment in our Dinsmore Plateau area, the Humboldt Rio Dell Business Park, being development friendly, signage friendly, and develop options for infrastructure for folks to make sure that that investments continue to be made in the community. So with that, really what we are looking for, there are 3 basic options for the council. One is look forward to a discussion with the council on the items. And what we're looking for is the approval of the plan, including the immediate action plan, directing staff to begin the implementation of a beautification and walkability committee and to return with appropriate language to create that committee for discussion at the council level for what that committee would look like. The other option is to continue this discussion with the full council to a meeting at a future date for further discussion. The council could also re-refer the item following the discussion back to the Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee. So with that, I will go ahead and return it to the mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. It's very good presentation, very detailed. So I will now open it up to the council and we'll go from there. I'll start with Councilmember Woodall.
I'm really impressed with this economic development program. I mean, you have covered practically everything I could think of. I'm in favor of going ahead with it. I would like to, at some point, how we did the 5-year plan for the streets, we have all of this and we have our immediate action plan. I would at some point like to look at it and go ahead and feel out the rest of how we're going to go on further with this in the following years so that we have a plan. So many plans like this we've gotten that they've fallen by the wayside. We've had them, they've sounded wonderful, but we haven't followed through. And I really want to follow through with this because it addresses everything. And I think we should go ahead with it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Woodall. Councilmember Wilson?
Yes, I agree with Councilmember Woodall that we need to move ahead with the action plan. And again, also say, job well done to the ad hoc committee for putting this together and having covered so many things. There's still a lot to be accomplished, particularly how we're going to pay for it, and whether that's grants or finances or there's a lot of dollars needed to make this a reality. But by no means is this going to take place if we just stop here. So I don't think we need to we don't need to throw it back at the ad hoc committee, or we don't need to essentially beat it up with the council. But I think we need to take what's been presented to us and move forward and start developing some plans and get something happening. So as Councilmember Woodall said, it doesn't fall by the wayside. So I'm in favor of moving ahead. And thank you, committee and staff, for putting this together.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson. Councilmember Carter.
Thank you. I said this last meeting and I'm going to say it again. Reading this whole thing just made me so happy. And I thought, this is what I imagined when I ran for office. So I'm happy that to have this come across again. Yes, move ahead with the immediate action plan. I would love to be on the walkability committee whenever we come to forming that. I have a million ideas. I don't know if our meeting is long enough. I could always write them up or something, but I would love to talk about this further. I guess, Kyle, I'm asking you, where do I go with my list of wacky ideas, some of which are very cheap?
By the way.
I think the starting point would be the beautification committee, but I think this is an ongoing conversation. And so I do think probably at least every 6 months that we probably might want to have an agenda item where we revisit this plan and look at it, specifically the immediate action plan and then the broader plan and kind of where we're at and touch bases with it.
Okay. Well, great. We'll start with the committee. You just take me as I volunteer for that committee right away. Write that down, put it there. Whatever that comes along. Let's
Write it.
Oh, wait.
Get it
I
off the ground.
volunteer.
I know that's a big one. Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes. One of the things that I see probably headed our way is that we're going to have to increase city staff and hire a economic development coordinator, as was listed in one of the items. And if not in the 21-22 fiscal year, and certainly in the one immediately after that. But I think that we need to be discussing it as we're right now approaching our budget series, and that's my only comment. Thank you, Mayor Garnes.
Thank you. And I too am very excited, and I think it should move forward, and we should definitely just get right to it and not waste time. I think we're gonna be back and forth on, we might have to take turns on who's on the committee for the beautification, because I'm sure we all have I know I have some serious ideas, and I'm sure we all do. So we'll have to work that out, but we will work that out. I think staff is going to start on the citizen side of it and see how they're going to put out the word so that we can have citizen involvement in that process, because that's going to be very important. And it's, you're going to have to, so it's just going to be very important. And so I look forward to it. I'm excited about it. And so I think, first, let me stop myself. Are there any hands raised or emails?
Currently, there are no hands raised.
Okay.
And there are no emails.
Okay. Then is this, then should I take a vote to proceed, city manager? Is that what you need?
Correct. So it would be, the motion would be to adopt the economic development goals and actions to achieve economic development, including the immediate action plan, and directing staff to begin implementation of the IAP, including the necessary steps to create a beautification walkability committee and to return to the council as appropriate.
And so that will be, that will be the motion. So I really don't think I need to restate it. You stated it perfectly. And I will say that that was the motion. Is that acceptable?
Somebody should move that.
Well, I just wanted to make sure before I ask for the motion, do I need to actually restate it?
No,
City?
no.
No?
I
Okay.
think the maker of the motion could just simply say, so moved.
Okay, so is there a motion? I think I heard a motion by Councilmember Woodall.
Yes.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Woodall. Is there a second?
I will second that.
We have a second by Councilmember Wilson. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Carter,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Woodall,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Yes.
Mayor Garnes.
Yes, and let's collectively say, yay, we are on a, this is really good. First the streets, now this. We're getting somewhere. I'm excited. Okay, and so we will now move to special call items, priority setting for fiscal year 2021, 2022, page 41 in your packets. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes and members of the council. So this year's priority setting session, like last year, is happening virtually. We have typically done this in the past using whiteboards and Post-it notes. And so this year will be verbal. The last priority setting session was held back on June 2nd of 2020, so during the pandemic, or the height of the pandemic, I should say. And the city council and staff held that session and underwent a priority setting exercise that listed various high priority topics. And so this list is not in any particular order, and some of it is kind of summarized because some of the concerns were similar and differently worded. But last year, some of the concerns, just general concerns, were related to nuisance abatement, street work, infrastructure in general, so water, wastewater, public safety, making sure we had a fully staffed police department, total compensation study related to labor agreements and negotiations, an ethics policy, public safety power shutoffs, which was the disaster before the last disaster, COVID-19, economic development and recovery out of COVID-19, the problem of abandoned vehicles throughout town, police foot and bicycle patrols, community services officer position, a 5-year streets plan, and total build out of the Humboldt Rio Dell Business Park. So I'm going to screen share here again and see if I can pull up just this quick Excel spreadsheet, and hopefully you can see that. So last year, out of that process, what ended up getting filtered towards the top of those priorities was really related to street planning and work. So last year, we had just completed or we're working on the Aloha, Fern, Riverside pavement project, as well as ATP. And the council wanted to make sure that we developed a work plan that addressed and prioritize a significant investment over time in identifying streets, approximate budget figures, and then put that plan into action. I believe the number, just a generalized target, and just in terms of cost, was an investment of around $450,000 a year. And we basically received a bid for the latest street project at about $450,000. So that project, by the way, the contractor is considering starting on May 17th of this year. So that's not very far away. So hence why we had on the consent calendar budget adjustment for this fiscal year to help make sure that we can pay that if contractor is able to complete the work this fiscal year. So we hope that they will. Code enforcement was another of the top priorities of the council. And so we've made significant progress related to that in terms of staffing in the police department, creating that investment, hiring the right people, and providing also work with the Nuisance Advisory Committee, which I think has been very helpful in just explaining kind of the process related to abatements efforts. Public safety general had been talked about just in increased terms of increasing and stabilizing the police department staffing and making sure that they're fully equipped with technology, including the RIMS crime software, police vehicles, and so on, in addition to training. Economic development, which we just were discussing, was another one of the priorities that came to the top for the council, top 5 priorities, and personnel, which encompassed the labor negotiations from last year and the compensation study to help identify appropriate compensation levels. With that, you can go back in time, back to 2017, to see some of the other items that were prioritized in the past. And so with that, the purpose of this meeting today is really to be a generalized discussion with the council about economic development. And we want to hear the council's ideas about about priorities for the council, about what you're seeing out there. And then I will put this onto a list as the council individually lists their priorities that they'd like to see addressed. And then towards the end of the session, we can fit those into the top 5 for this year. The other option is also to continue this meeting to the council's next meeting on the 18th if we need to have additional conversation or a special meeting in between. So with that, I'll go ahead and return it to the mayor and would encourage just calling on the council members to kind of list out where they see the priorities at, and then we'll filter that down to the final 5.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes. I had, I'm supposed to have 5 items, and I had about 7 or 8 or 9. And the ones that really didn't make my cut are no less important than the ones that made the cut. But what I've got is probably following up on the immediate action plan for economic development. My number 1 item is acquiring the water line over in Humboldt Rio Dell Business Park. Glenn White and his partners a couple of years ago spent better part of $1 million to put in a water line, fire hydrants, and all the appurtenances over there. And he sold buy-in rights at some amount, and he's got back a very small portion of his huge investment. I think one of the key things in economic development is, is getting his facilities completed. It will make that whole area a whole lot more attractive, and it will get more money into the city's coffers when that parcel is performing at 100% capacity. My item number 2 is provide infrastructure to support Dinsmore Plateau cannabis. They're going to have huge water needs up there, 50 to 100,000 gallons a day, and which is, it's about 50 to 50% of what the city uses now in a day. Third item, keep our quality staff. We got a great staff, and the smaller the turnover, the longer the longevity of employees, the more we can get done as a city. Fourth item, Todd property development. Mrs. Todd is interested in selling her acreage, and as Kyle said, there's precious little that abuts freeway and abuts an off-ramp, on-ramp system, and we need to have a hand, if at all possible, in how that's developed. And the fifth one could be any one of about 5 different items, but I put down the water sewer rate study and the corresponding 218 process that we will be going through later this year. Thank you, Mayor Garnes.
Okay. Councilmember Wilson, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Wilson.
Yes, it looks like when we go through the list of the stuff that was on our sheet that we've knocked off quite a lot of them. The some of the things that are left there are the definitely this wasn't on there before, but the action plan which we approved tonight, I think would be a very big one. Some of the I'm trying to see this one. I don't have the best light. I do have concern that we pay attention to this public power safety shutoffs. And I think this year is going to be a big drought issue from everything I've been hearing. It's going to be a really dry summer. And so we need to pursue any of the activities that we were doing to ready ourselves for that. If we have the outages, we've particularly with City Hall, we talked about the power standby type thing so that the City Hall can remain up and running to be the center of our emergency force. The idea, a couple of the other things that Councilmember Johnson mentioned was we've come a long ways with building our staff, our public safety, police force, and particularly our public works. It sounds like we're fully staffed there. That it would be good to keep them maintained and not have the turnover that we've had in the past. I don't know if I'm writing this down as 5 items. I do have concern about the bridge, that we work on the bridge and make that something that we work on with the whoever the forces are with the state, that it stay active. I don't see us wanting to own that bridge. That would be a real, I think, a big detriment to the city to be responsible for a structure of that nature. But it is an iconic device. It's the shortest highway. And that would be one of the things to build a selfie. That's a part of something that my generation, or at least I haven't capped on how this younger generation thinks to want to do the selfies. And when you brought that up, I see that with the younger generation there, they do that a lot. I just hadn't really capped on it. I don't think that way. So I think that's the Eagle Prairie the bridge is one item that has some a place to get your picture took. Have I got 5 yet? I don't know if that's
I think that's 4. See, the IAP, PSPSs, less turnover in staff, Eagle Prairie Bridge.
and one that's really not on here, but I don't know if you want to call it infrastructure or not, is that 1383 thing that the state that's that organic waste diversion plan that's part of the garbage issue, and because we have that on our burner about talking about the universal pickup. I'm not a big fan of universal pickup, but the thing that this 1383 is going to be a big deal, and we can certainly put it off for a couple of deferments, but it's going to come back around, and eventually we're going to have to deal with it. So my outlook is that we start dealing with it sooner than later. The universal pickup is going to be a part of that means of diverting the organic waste. It's virtually going to bring you to universal collection, and that's probably what will bring Fortuna around. Is they're going to have to deal with 1383. All the communities are going to have to deal with 1383. So I would put that as this organic diversion as a priority. So make that my number 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson. Councilmember Woodall?
Okay. To me, the biggest thing is the economic development, but under that, number 6 on our immediate action plan, the Dinsmore Plateau, to develop the development of that is important, along with the business park. As it says at the end of number 6, continuing to invest in the current largest economic driver in Rio Dell, the legal cannabis industry. If we can push this, then we have more money to address some of the other issues. So to me, doing that would be number 1. Staffing would be number 2. I mean, we need to look maybe at a economic development plan coordinator. I think we need more help in looking at this economic development than we have available right now. And as always, code enforcement. If we're going to go ahead with all of this, we need to have the city cleaned up. We need to have it looking good, where we can draw people in to where they come down through downtown, and if they go off into another area of the town, that we look like I don't even know how to put it, that everything looks good. We need to have it looking good. I mean, there needs to be a quality of life in town, and code enforcement helps provide that. And then pursuing the Todd property. That's a big one also. And that may be only 4, but I'm for anything else that goes with economic development, because we need that for this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Woodall. Councilmember Carter?
Thank you, Mayor Garnes. Wow, you guys are all so good at this. This is my first time. I'm happy to be here, though. I put economic development as my, kind of top priority too. And much like Julie, thought that code enforcement and nuisance abatement was very much intertwined with that. I as well think that staffing is really important, and being nice to our staff and keeping them on so we don't have that kind of turnover rate. Obviously, investing in the cannabis businesses, I think, is top priority too. And how many was that? 4?
That is 4.
I guess I put infrastructure also, just water, wastewater. And I was kind of thinking that like our city staff is infrastructure too. Like that's like a critical part of our town and the way that we work. So those 2 might go hand in hand also, but those would be my 5.
All right. Thank you. And for me, I think definitely the IAP, the economic development, is number 1. And I think that it has to follow the plan. So I don't want to pull anything out of that. So the IAP, the cannabis development, because that is where we're going to get the source of the revenue to do all the other things that we want to do. I'm the only one who's, I think, bringing this out, but I think that developing, and I don't know how I missed this in our ad hoc committee, but developing the Edward Street spot to go down on the river is probably going to be the biggest draw, because everybody always wants to know how to get to the river. No matter where you go, they want to know how to get there. And when you have something of that nature, that, like Fortuna, there's river in Fortuna. I don't know how to get to the river in Fortuna. We have river. Most people don't know how to get to the river in Rio Dell. So I think that that is really important, and it might fall under the parks grant that we applied for. So I'm not, completely sure on that, but I think that that's very important. The 1383, I think, is something that we're going to have to deal with, just period. So, so we might as well get to a point where we're not trying to play catch up, but that we are actually ahead of the game, at least as far as looking at it, figuring out how it's going to fit with us, because that then is going to play into nuisance, code enforcement, and universal garbage. We need to get on to that, because it's going to come at us and we aren't going to have any way around it. And then I think I said cannabis in the second place. And when I said cannabis and revenue, I meant the business park, and what Councilmember Johnson, how he outlined it, and the amount of money that Glenn White put into it, and how we're going to work with that to help to develop that, because my understanding is he didn't have to put all that money in to the water line. He could have finished that building that we are all concerned about not being finished. So if the city can do something along those lines to help with that water line situation, I think that's a good idea, as well as the Dinsmore Plateau. And then I think, what was my 5th one? Oh no, I've forgotten. I'm looking at the list. Stay with me, because I think we've done the community service 5-year plan, business park. I'll have to get back to you. It's left me, but there is another one that is I think is very important, and I just have to think about it for a minute. If I remember, though, I'll just throw it out there before we are finished.
All right, Mayor Garnes, I can let me recap the list here.
Okay.
And then we can add something at the end if anybody feels like we missed anything. So I'm going to screen share here.
That's enough.
What I'll try to do is put this into a top 5s list. So it seems like we heard a lot on the immediate action plan and economic development. the water line at the HRDP White project, infrastructure for the Dinsmore Plateau, specifically related to water, keeping quality staff, reducing turnover in the city, the Todd property and development of that particular parcel, water and sewer rate study, again, economic development and the immediate action plan, the concern about the dry summer that we are starting to experience and its relation to public safety power shutoffs and our Cal OES resiliency grant, which they did just today extend the deadline on, which was very welcome news. Maintaining staff and less turnover, Eagle Prairie Bridge, to work with Caltrans and the state on its preservation as well as its promotion as an icon of the community. SB 1383 related to organics waste diversion, overall waste issues that continue to ramp up in terms of regulatory requirements. We've heard economic development, Dinsmore Plateau, staffing to accomplish economic development, code enforcement and cleaning up the city, the Todd property, economic development, code enforcement and nuisance abatement, reducing turnover, investing in cannabis, investing in infrastructure, and then economic development again, cannabis developments at the Humboldt Rio Dell Business Park and Plateau revenue enhancement, Edward Street River access, 1383 mandatory organics recycling compliant, and the White development. So with that, I don't know if there's anything else. What I'm gonna try to do here, if you give me just a second, I'm gonna try to compile the list and see if I can kind of quickly put that in the top 5, probably not in any specific order.
And City Manager,
Yes.
I just wanted to say that the White property was really to be in the cannabis, but it wasn't my 5th thing, is what I'm trying to say. So I think the 5th thing was actually going to be the Todd property.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Do you want us to take 5?
That would be great. Yes.
Okay. Let's take 5 and be back at 7:57. Is that Brad? If he did, he might have one. Where are you, city manager?
One more minute.
Okay. No. Yeah, why am I mute? Oh, there. It wasn't there.
Okay. So I'll just go ahead and share the screen. So just quickly looking those items over, and what we'll do is we can go ahead and just double check the list, and what we'll be doing is bringing back the final list at the next city council meeting, and so that the council has an opportunity to kind of digest and think about the list and the discussion from tonight. So we'll bring this list back and just double check the numbers here. But it looks like preliminarily the council identified economic development. There was a lot of the IAP and other different priorities, cannabis in general. So that I would imagine would involve or involves the Humboldt Rio Dell Business Park, Dinsmore Plateau, white development, and all things related to cannabis. And turnover reduction, all three of those got 4 recommendations. In addition to the Todd property. And then code enforcement SB 1383, it looked like that was a tie. So we can certainly bring this list back for the council's consideration, and then we can further refine it and go into more detail or whatever discussion the council wants to have at our next meeting. Again, that's May 18th. Is there any comments or questions regarding just the quick little list that's here?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor Garnes. You know, looking over the last 4 years worth of priorities and accomplishments that jointly the council and staff has accomplished, you know, the accomplishments have been huge. And if we can keep that ball rolling with the priorities that we set this year, wonderful things are going to happen in Rio Dell. Thank you, Mayor Garnes.
Thank you. Councilmember Carter?
Thank you, Mayor Garnes. You know, I'm just happy to be on the team right now. and you know, that's just my gut reaction when I see that list, is I'm just happy to be on a good team and part of what's going on in Rio Dell right now. So thank you all. And that's
All right. We're so happy to have you on our team.
it. Well,
All right. Councilmember Wilson? Should I go out?
Yeah, I'm on there. Yeah, it's a good list, a continuation of what we've been doing. Thinking back over the last 10 years, it's certainly a different face than what we saw 10 years ago. World's changed, and so it's important that we stay with this as the world and our economy and our local community changes. I think the stuff we're doing is in line with flowing with however that's going to work out. We're staying, I think, active and going the right direction. It's good.
Thank you. Councilmember Woodall?
Not much. I'm glad. I like the list that we're looking at, and I like the fact that we're going to come back next time. It gives me a little bit time to think this over. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm happy with the list, and probably if you could put 5, we probably all agree with, you know, all of them really. So I think we're headed the right direction. Are there any hands up or hands raised or emails?
There are currently no hands raised.
And no emails.
Okay, thank you then. And thank you, City Manager and staff, for getting our priority setting session moving for this year. And that appears to bring us to council. Wait. Do I need to, is there any action that I need to have a vote on, City Manager?
No, so we'll bring the item back at the next council meeting, and then that'll be the formal adoption of the goal setting.
Okay, thank you. So now that brings us to council reports and communications. I will start with Councilmember Woodall.
Haven't much. We have an HTA meeting tomorrow. We've started doing those quarterly, so I will have a report next time. And I have a question for you. Are we going to have an ad hoc committee meeting on the Gateway? You and I are on it.
Yes.
Or
just set a date for it right now, because you tell me to call you and then I get off somewhere not thinking about it, and then I don't call, and then I think about it, you're somewhere. So let's just while this last few minutes are going on, look at your calendar. I'll look at my calendar. I'm out of town for some days, so but
I'm out of town all next week.
Okay, then the following week we should get together on, let's say, Monday before the council meeting, so we'll have something to talk about.
Okay, Monday before the 16th. So 15th.
Yes, the 17th of.
Okay, the 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Monday the 17th.
10:30ish.
Sounds good. Wait, can we meet, or do we have to do it on the phone?
No, we can meet.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay,
all right.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And so now I am moving on to Councilmember Wilson.
I don't think I haven't had any meetings here recently, so
Okay.
Nothing to report at this moment.
Thank you. Councilmember Carter?
Yes, thank you. I attended the Redwood Region Economic Development Commission Board of Directors meeting. It's a long name, on April 26th. And we heard a program from the County Director of Aviation. So that was exciting to hear all the flights that are coming back. So it looks like we have Denver, San Francisco, LAX, Burbank, Phoenix, all happening June, July of this year.
Nice. Nice.
He was also, Greg Foster was very happy to hear that our audit went well. We got a special shout out from him, and he was like, what a big deal that is for us, and congratulations. So,
All right. Very cool.
that's it for me.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes. About 2 weeks ago, the Last Chance Great Stakeholders groups, all 4 of them, met, and in lieu of Zoom, we used WebEx, and it seemed to be a little bit friendlier method. And I think there were at least 55 participants. Everybody had a chance to talk, and it looks like the options that are going forward are number 1, that would be essentially in the same right-of-way along somewhat close to the alignment of the current road, and the other option is a tunnel. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor Garnes.
Thank you. And I got the opportunity to go to the Redwood Skywalk. Mayor Susan Seaman from Eureka invited me and mayors from other cities up here, and I went, and Brett from Arcata went, and it was really, really impressive, and they did a beautiful job. It is something to be proud of, for them to be proud of, but it's also something for Humboldt to be proud of. It's very well done, and I encourage everybody to go, and I think it's open now. And I even got the first sweatshirt they sold. So, so it was really, it's really beautiful. So I would definitely encourage you. The walk is, it goes up 100 feet, but it's very slight, and you don't notice it really that you're going up that distance. And they also have an ADA access. And so the ADA access goes, there's a walkway, and then there's like I don't want to say a pullout, but there's a side thing that goes around a tree, a giant tree, a deck. Thank you. And, so the first, I think, 2 sections are ADA compliant, where you can go up the ramp, go around the deck and the tree, and look out and see everything. And then there's a couple of chain bridges where you're kind of like that, and so that's the ADA ends just prior to that one bridge. But if you're nervous about, like, I really had to get across the bridge before other people got on it, because the bouncing would have made me uncomfortable. But as long as you're bothered by heights or bouncing on a bridge, it's really a beautiful thing, and really, really well done. And I just wanted to give them a shout out. Thank the zoo director and all the people, all the staff that was there to escort us and give us the tour. It was really worth it. So definitely go to the Redwood Skywalk in Eureka Sequoia Park. Okay. I told them I was going to give them a plug. I was so impressed. So that's all that I have right now. And so I think, already did. And so I think I am looking for, let's see, a motion to adjourn. I think that's what I'm looking for here. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second, Carter.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, then we will adjourn our meeting until Tuesday, May 18th at 6:30. And Julie, you and I will be meeting on the 17th.
All right. Okay.
All
Thank you,
right.
Deborah.
Thank you. Good night. Meeting adjourned.